All right, looks like we've started. So welcome everybody. Looks like everyone's here. Thank you so much for joining us today. For those who I have not met, my name is Livia Keene. I'm an associate with our team at the California Product Stewardship Council. So clicking over, let's see if I can get the slides to cooperate. Here we go. So the work of CPSC is made possible by our incredible board. We are led by our amazing board of directors here, including Christina Miller, Ted Ward, Colleen Foster, and Amy Hams. And we are so grateful for their leadership and expertise. As you can see, here's our full list of our board members, and we benefit greatly from having them on our team. Our board represents the state of California well, including our more rural districts. And again, our work is made possible because of their support. I am going to pass the next slide to Nate, who is going to talk about one particular board member, Rachel Ross Donaldson.
Slide, please. If you could. Looks like it's not moving to the next. There we go. Okay. Yeah, with very, very heavy hearts, we want to share with you news that Rachel Ross Donaldson, one of CPSC's newest board members, passed recently. She's very, very close to a number of board members, especially Christina, our board chair. And she was just an incredible contributor to not only the things and the projects and the campaigns that CPSC worked on, but a number of great campaigns and great work that Tehama had been working on for a number of years, going all the way back to 2018 and even earlier, related to our work on SB 212. With their help, we were able to pass SB 212, and they were incredibly with the case that ultimately went to the Supreme Court. It's very difficult to share this information with you. She was a good friend to many of us and an incredible supporter of the work that CPSC does and the work that many of you do. And we just wanted to share with you this news today. So she's certainly in our hearts, and we certainly send her and her family, including two young children, our thoughts and our love and our support. Next slide,
Nate,
please.
actually, before we move on, I just wanted to add a quick story because it was actually one of my first days at CPSC. And I drove out to Red Bluff, tiny town in NorCal, and Rachel had done so much work to get a local ordinance for medicine and needles. I had no idea what I was doing. It was my first testimony without having my executive director there. I drove up alone, but having Rachel there, having our board chair member there, Christina Miller, it was the first rural county to pass a local ordinance. And ultimately what drove the negotiations at the state level really home, because to have a rural county, EPR that had veterinarian meds. So it was two major differences from the other local ordinances that Rachel worked so hard to get. So without the work of Rachel, we would not have had such an amazing result at the state level, which was SB 212. And now there's safe medicine disposal throughout the whole state. So just wanted to add some story.
I think Joanne and CPSC is organizing some support for her. She was the sole breadwinner for her family, and she leaves behind a husband and two young kids. So once we have that information and that the option secured, it's probably going to be something like a GoFundMe campaign. We'll pass that along to you. We know a lot of folks, especially in this call, had close relationships with Rachel and would want to lend their support. Thanks. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is me again. So CPSC staff, wow, what a difference a few years makes. The depths of the pandemic, when we had just 3 employees, if I remember correctly, we've grown by leaps and bounds, all the way up to 8 right now. It's in large part to the leadership and the hard work of Doug and Joanne and the rest of the team. Our ability to secure a large number of additional grants, in many cases larger grants, and we need the staff to help support these projects. So we've expanded greatly. Special congratulations to the folks that received promotions this year, including Virginia and Olivia, and our new employee, Ryan. Glad to have you and glad for your hard work on all the textile and other projects that you're currently staffing. And an extra special thank you to Lance, who joined us, and his last month is this month. And Lance has just done a tremendous job on all fronts for all the projects that he's been staffing, especially in regards to recruiting. So, Lance, a special thank you to you. Next slide, please. Okay, funding. So CPSC is in large part able to keep our doors open because of the very generous financial support from folks that are on this call. Many of you are listed on the screen, specifically our associates, which includes the cities and counties and special districts, and even GPAs all across the state of California. We are incredibly grateful. Our budget is in large part supported by the funds that you contribute on an annual basis. It means a tremendous amount to us. Again, we're able to keep our doors open because of your generous contributions, and we're extremely grateful for that. Next slide. Sponsors. I would be remiss to not mention the sponsors. They are just as critical to our organization, our ability to continue moving forward with each of our legislative initiatives, public education initiatives, and more. So a special thank you to Little Camper, who's on this call today, one of our circular sponsors, our platinum sponsors, our gold sponsors, so on and so forth, and even those with which we have reciprocal agreements, including CRA and Californians Against Waste. We couldn't do it without you, and we couldn't be more grateful. Next slide, please.
So here at CPSC, our mission is to shift California's material and energy policies towards a circular economy through product stewardship and extended producer responsibility. And our vision for the future of a circular economy in the state really requires a collaboration between both the producers of hard-to-manage products and the state, with the responsibility of producers being developing and funding the reuse, repair, and materials recovery system for the products, and then the state responsibilities being overseeing the progress of these programs, ensuring the transparency of it, and setting the performance goals that need to be reached to achieve circularity. Next slide. And so our work on product stewardship really falls onto a spectrum, with one end of it being 100% industry-funded programs with 100% producer responsibility, and the other end of the spectrum being no industry funding and consumer responsibility. And the products we work with really fall on both sides of the spectrum and everywhere in between. For example, this year, our textile EPR was 100% industry-funded EPR program. So that's on the producer responsibility side. And then we also had one all the way on the consumer responsibility side with the 1 pound refillable propane cylinders. So our work really varies all the way across the spectrum and will continue to in the coming year.
CPSC funding sources and efficiency. When Doug joined CPSC over 6 years ago, he really made it a priority to increase CPSC's transparency and increase our efficiency and increase our effectiveness. And we've really taken that to heart. And I wanted to share this slide again, as we do each year, so that you can see that we have continued our efforts to maintain our high levels of efficiency. You can see that a lot of our funding still comes from grants and is trending towards a greater percentage coming from grants because we're going after significantly larger number of grants and even larger grants as the years pass. So, you know, a lot of the funding for CPSC, as I mentioned earlier, comes from associates, a lot of which are on this call, and we are incredibly grateful for those continued contributions, and we expect to maintain our high level of transparency, efficiency, and effectiveness. Next slide, please.
So we carry out our mission through a couple different ways, but ultimately we do advocacy and we do education. So here are the major bills that CPSC was really monitoring and overseeing and engaging with over the last year. I'll start with the bills that are CPSC sponsored. And what that means is by sponsoring a bill, we take lead on writing a lot of the education, doing a lot of the stakeholder meetings, bill language writing, and helping the author through the process to really get the more complicated bills across the finish line. So SB 707 is a textile EPR bill that was signed by Governor Newsom. It's the first in the country. This is a 2-year bill. So Senator Newman out of Orange County was leading this process, and ultimately the version that crossed the finish line set new models for EPR with major precedents for reuse, repair. We have some microfiber filtration, some chemical management provisions, and ultimately through working with Cal Recycle and working with all the different stakeholders, what crossed the finish line was this new model of EPR that has Cal Recycle's intense feedback and a really good structure that can be applied for other products. We have lots of resources on SB 707, including handouts. We have an upcoming webinar later this week with Senator Newman's staffer. And ultimately, one of the things that we're really excited about this bill is once it goes to Cal Recycle's authority in January, we're going to see new jobs, workshops, and really easing into the regulatory process as we've given a really clear timeline in the bill. SB 1280, this is a bill by Senator Laird. This is transitioning 1 pound propane cylinders from single use to reusable. We have a Refuel Your Fun campaign that we'll tell you more about. And through this educational campaign, we've gotten all the data we've needed. And this is not our first year attempting this bill. We've tried EPR, we've tried a previous ban of single use. And by this third attempt with Senator Laird, we were able to get a bill across the finish line that has a clear timeline and a safe transition to multi-use 1 pound propane cylinders, thus reducing a really problematic product in our waste stream. These other bills that we did not sponsor made incremental and transformative changes to other products and other programs, including the paint program got updated, the carpet program got updated, a new update on the bag ban in California, some expansions of right to repair. But ultimately, what we're really excited to see, in addition to the transformative bills like SB 707, is these incremental bills getting programs to being more efficient, more transparent, and ultimately getting to a place where they're not a burden on local government and consumers. Next slide. The other way that we really carry out our leadership and engage with CPSC's mission is we have our monthly board meetings. We have associate calls. These are once a month, local government only. We go through all the bills we're monitoring. We give updates on our projects, campaigns, and how local government can tap into these funds to save money. Ultimately, that's one of our goals, and part of our mission is to create programs that are funded and run by industry, so local government and consumers can tap into those programs and participate. We also have monthly policy calls. This is our board appointed PIAC. So this is only for funders of the silver level or higher or local government. And we also have free opportunities, though. We're not paid to play. We have newsletters, listservs, social media. We put a lot of work into our education and making it digestible and accessible for everyone. And having free access to that information is important to us. We have 7 full-time staff members, 1 part-time, and as this long list at the bottom is all the different coalitions that we participate in. So not only do we have opportunities for our funders and our network to show up in our space, we show up in the space of others to share our mission, to share our updates. So if you don't see your organization listed on the previous funder slide or this slide, let us know, because we like to continue to get engaged. Being involved in these coalitions are a way that we can expedite like our coalition letters to support bills. It's a way that we can get more groups involved in our grant projects. So if you even have other organizations in your area that you want us to get involved in, let us know, because we are only as strong as our network. And you can see through this slide, our network is really strong. So we'll take it to the next slide and really share our social media presence, because this is one of the things that we're proud of. You know, we as a team of 8 really dive into what's the information we can share that's most important to our social media networks and in our listserv. So these are just some of the few posts over the last year that we're really proud of. Yes, we were in vogue. Yeah, our propane cylinders, you know, hit some national press. But ultimately, looking at some of our other networks who've really taken this information and shared it more widely. So big thank you to all of the authors and the press who are really engaged with CPSC. We went a little viral in Korea with the textile bill. Not too sure what they said, but ultimately, we see that the information is being received well, and our press releases are being shared across multiple channels of press. Next slide.
Thank you so much. So we are really excited to talk about this campaign again, as we've had yet another really successful year over here on the Refill Your Fun and Save team. As we've continued our work to promote the use of reusable 1-pound propane cylinders across the state, we've made a lot of close contacts through our outreach to retailers, cylinder giveaway events, and public education initiatives. And through all this work, we have found that our stakeholders and grant partners are very invested in supporting the switch to reusables. And every year we continue to pursue and take on these big new projects, and this year was absolutely no exception. This work takes us all across the state, working on the ground with local communities to reduce waste and save ratepayers a lot of money. And even doing that, I just want to give a little thank you to our Refill Your Fun team. We're small, but we do get it done, and we're amazing. And we've been really hitting it out of the park. Can we just the next slide, please? And it's important to us that we've been able to maintain and grow our relationships with both small retailers as well as big box stores that operate across the nation. Our team has had longstanding relationships with Ace Hardware, True Value, and we continue to work very closely with Little Camper. It has been amazing to work with the national parks, starting with Yosemite, but our network has continued to expand to so many more parks, even just through this year. However, our biggest news has to do with the passing of SB 1280, but my associate Virginia will be speaking more on that shortly. And with that, I will pass the baton over to Virginia.
Thank you, Lance, and to all of our attendees this year. Lance and I have worked really closely together on the Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign throughout this past year, and we are so pleased to share our progress with you all. So as Lance touched on, we host a variety of Refuel Your Fun and Save giveaway and exchange events. These are a really great opportunity to see how implementing the campaign benefits local communities. And these events help us pinpoint what we can do to make sure that we are doing all that we can with our little group to reach residents in a way that is effective, and also to make sure that we are utilizing the grant funds and the small project funds to the best of our team's abilities. So as you can see from this long list of benefits on the screen, the core of this campaign is to encourage and engage individuals into making a behavioral switch, that being the switch from a single use to a reusable alternative. And the most important benefit from this list that I'd like to particularly call out is the long-term reduction of single-use 1-pound propane cylinders coming through the waste stream, specifically due to the costs associated with the disposal of these cylinders, which are problematic on a whole to those facilities and residents across the state. So the campaign not only educates people, the public, on these important environmental costs, but also impacts bottom lines. Less propane cylinders in your waste stream has a direct impact on the operating costs for facilities, and ultimately the cost burden that is passed down onto the residents in those jurisdictions. I'd like to point out specifically the picture on the right, which shows myself and Nate at the Capitol earlier this year. Also in attendance was Doug Cobwald, our executive director, as well as Lance, our intern, who you just heard from. This was also an event that we shared with Little Camper. Thank you, Josh, who's also on the call today. The passage of SB 1280 was a major milestone for CPSC and has been super helpful in boosting the momentum of the Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign. Next slide, please. So in short, the Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign helps provide a long-term solution when it comes to propane cylinders. This solution is built off of these core ideals to promote reusables all year long throughout every season and not just summer, by hosting fun and engaging events across the state within a variety of locations, from big urban populations to small rural communities. Securing and supporting participating retailers all across the state that sell, refill, or exchange their reusable cylinders, and the creation of custom campaign materials such as banners, billboards, even coloring books, and short promotional videos, and the consistent publication of original social media content to the campaign's social media accounts that are then targeted to those residents. And as we briefly mentioned before, the bulk of our projects are funded through CalRecycle grants, and we're really excited for the next cycle of those grants. However, I did want to mention that we do a lot of work outside of those grants, specifically with Refuel Your Fun and Save. We're currently working on a few smaller projects that are funded outside of the CalRecycle grants, and we're always looking for more opportunities to work on more small projects. These projects come with custom materials and solutions specifically built for your residents. So if you're interested in bringing a Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign to your jurisdiction, please reach out to the CPSC team and we can help talk out all the details. We also like to share our Refuel Your Fun campaign materials, more generic materials, with our funders to help support their efforts, say when they're at a community event, giving them flyers, material information to help support those events, which is another big benefit of being a funder of CPSC. And we're really excited to move forward with the many Refuel Your Fun and Save campaigns that we currently have. And we're excited to expand to future campaigns. And so with that, I will pass the presentation back to, I believe, Olivia to talk about the solar panel campaign. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Hi again, everybody. So this year we were really thrilled. We started a new solar panel pilot in Marin County, funded by Zero Waste Marin, and we provided residents and installers with free residential solar panel collection and recycling. Including the collections we have scheduled for this week, our pilot will have collected over 90 panels in Marin County, and our collection is going to continue through January 2025. We are thrilled what we've been able to accomplish in Marin. In addition, CPSC was also awarded the Phase 1 prize of the REX Before Recycling prize from the Department of Energy. And with this prize, and in collaboration with Zero Waste Marin, we were able to host our inaugural solar panel reuse training and certification down in San Rafael. We were really thrilled with the outcome of this event. We hosted 21 attendees, including installers, contractors, recyclers, sellers, nonprofit organization, local government workers, and students from San Francisco. And we were really thrilled with the participation and the excitement that we saw. The interest in this project was really inspiring, and we're hoping to host another training in Southern California this year. We've additionally applied for Phase 2 of the REX Prize, so please keep your fingers crossed for us, and we plan to continue to host trainings across the state. And with that, I'm going to pass it along.
There we go. Don't Rush to Flush, yeah. So the Don't Rush to Flush campaign continues to grow and thrive, even in the years post SB 212. The purpose of this campaign, as you might already know, is to help residents understand the importance of getting unwanted medications out of their house and safely disposed. one of our biggest projects that we've done over the years, directly related to the Don't Rush to Flush campaign, is our Department of Healthcare Services project, our largest project to date, $3 million. We had the opportunity to present with this project recently in Palm Springs as part of the project and spend a lot of quality time with hospital system directors and talk through and discuss how they can support the Don't Rush to Flush campaign, the importance of continuing their support of either maintaining the safe disposal bin in their hospital systems, or how to get new ones into the hospitals that have yet to have one installed. And of course, the importance of educating residents that they currently serve in each of the communities that have one of their hospitals. So that was a wild success, even though the presentation was on a Saturday morning at 6:30 in the morning. The Department of Healthcare Services project is now coming to a close after 5 years, and we plan to end that in early 2025 as we complete our public education campaign. And we'll also be doing a statewide audit of the MedBin network that we helped establish literally 5 years ago during the deep and dark days of the pandemic. Next slide, please. As a reminder, there are lots of benefits of supporting the Don't Rush to Flush campaign, including community benefits. We always talk about how important it is for people to have options. For a long time, the feds would say, you have a couple different options. You can either put your unwanted meds into the toilet or you can put them into the garbage. And we're giving them this new, most ecologically correct way to dispose of unwanted medications, which is through the med bins. Where the contents, once collected, are then carted off to waste to energy incineration facility, and it really helps destroy those drugs at a molecular level. Of course, we've placed literally hundreds of bins across the state of California, and this is a huge benefit to the community. Many of these communities, even some of the medium-sized ones, didn't have a med bin nearby, and these folks finally have these. It's in large part due to the Don't Rush to Flush campaign. If you participate in this campaign and want information from us to share with your local residents, we can give you some free publicity. We can share on our websites that you are hosting medbins, that you've got this campaign, that you're trying to help people understand the importance of getting these unwanted meds out of the trash, out of the toilet, and into a safe disposal med bin. So we do everything we can to help support you and provide free publicity and public education to local residents. And that's our way of really providing you with additional exposure. We know you have listservs, we know you have websites, and we know you have social media accounts, but it's oftentimes helpful to help spread the word through other organizations. And that's what we do, is we work as a megaphone on your behalf to help educate the folks about the importance of safe and proper disposal. And then, of course, educational components. We developed through the DHCS project this huge library of materials that can then be used to help educate your local residents. And of course, we developed quite a few social media pieces and flyers and handouts and even some short videos prior to the DHCS project, but we really took that opportunity to run with it and greatly expand that library. And that's exactly what we did. So if you go to the Don't Rush to Flush campaign or the Department of Healthcare Services California Drug Take Back Program website, you'll see quite a few materials, including flyers you can hand out and post to your own website that helps people understand the importance of safe and proper disposal. As I mentioned, our DHCS California Drug Take Back Program campaign and project is coming to a close. And we are about 2 weeks away from publishing a massive social media campaign across the state with the same goal, really: educate the public on the importance of safe disposal, the importance of getting them out of the house, limiting that risk, lowering that risk, removing the risk of kids getting their hands on the unwanted meds, visitors to their home, going through cupboards looking for pills. These are really high risk things to have in your house, on the same level as the chemicals you keep in your garage and the bleach you keep in the laundry room. So we want people to understand this and really to do the best thing for themselves and their families and their communities, and that's to utilize these safe disposal med bins. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so to continue our goal of textile stewardship, CPSC this year hosted STRAC meetings, the Statewide Textile Recovery Act Advisory Committee, meetings once every 2 months. with the purpose of providing a collaborative space to discuss textile stewardship policies, advocacy strategies, and programmatic, feedback to support our mission and our work on textiles. This was not the first year we hosted this STRAC. It started in 2020. So the focus this year was really to grow it and to hold conversations around SB 707. And in those conversations, really gather the needs and concerns of brands and organizations and waste management authorities in the textile industry, so we could take that feedback and implement it into SB 707 as it was being developed. And despite SB 707 passing, there still is a great need for this advisory committee, which in the next year will not be called an advisory committee. It will be changed to the Statewide Textile Recovery Act task force. And the big purpose of the STRAT in the next year will be continuing the conversation around SB 707 and keeping people updated on how the program is being developed, as well as providing information on advocacy strategies, CPSC's textile pilots. One of the big changes this year or next year that we're adding is including working groups. So we're adding 9 working groups into the main STRAT working group, with majority of them focusing on topics related to SB 707, such as the PRO, eco-modulated fees, collection and sorting, and really holding a space where we could deep dive into those topics a little bit more. And then just like this last year, we'll also be hosting the USTRAT, which is the University Strat, which is a great platform for students to learn about textile stewardship and present research they've done in the space. So we look forward to the next year. And now I'll pass it over to Yellen.
All right, so last year, CPSC launched our Make the Electronic Marine Flare Switch campaign. I'm kind of building off of the Refuel Your Fun campaign, but this one is focused on single-use marine flares. So using primarily funding from CalRecycle, CPSC has been working very closely with the California State Parks and Coastal Commission's California Boating Clean and Green program, as well as other local marinas to host temporary marine flare collection events, as well as promote reusable electronic visual distress signal devices. As you may or may not know, these single-use marine flares are highly toxic. However, there's almost no way to actually properly dispose of them besides at these temporary disposal events. They cannot be thrown in regular trash, and many even household hazard waste facilities cannot dispose of them, as there's only 3 disposal facilities in the entire country, none of which are in California. So starting with our marine flare projects back in HD 31 in Huntington Beach, we've been working with local jurisdictions to find a solution for these single-use marine flares, as well as encourage residents to adopt reusable electronic marine flares that are not only better for the environment, but they're also much safer to use, as they're also kid-friendly for kids to use. So with our collaborations with Sirius Signal, we've been able to distribute over 1,000 reusable marine flares all across the state. Next slide, please. So this year, primarily funded by CalRecycle, over 8 jurisdictions hosted marine flare collection events. Working with CPSC, the Port of San Diego, the Port of Los Angeles, the City of Morro Bay, West Contra Costa Recycle, Del Norte County, Zero Waste Marin, and Alameda County all hosted marine flare collection events just last month, well, October and November. In Southern California, they hosted them in late October, and then in Northern California, they hosted them in early November. Not on this list is also Orange County, which hosted their event actually back in June. But across with all 8 events, there was over 8,500 marine flares collected and brought out of the waste stream, and over 250 reusables distributed. And we're only seeing these numbers grow every single year as more and more residents are educated about the proper disposal of single-use marine flares, and we get into more contact with different harbor masters, yacht clubs, marine operators, and more to expand the scope of these projects and just overall expand our educational campaign. And so if you want to learn more or are also interested in hosting an event near you, please let me know. We're happy to bring you into this coalition to remove single-use marine flares from our waste stream. And now I'll pass it on over to Lance to talk about our battery campaign.
Hi, thank you so much, Yalen. We're really excited about the marine flares, and it's amazing all that you guys have been able to achieve. But focusing on batteries, right now, CPSC has been piloting a new safe battery collection and disposal campaign, and I have been working very closely with Yalen and Nate to make this dream more of a reality. We have seen an immense divide in the number of Californians who purchase batteries and those who know how to dispose of them properly. With that, over the past few years, we here at CPSC have seen a tremendous increase in battery fires, dump truck fires, house fires, and accidents at waste management facilities. This is making insurance rates go up, and again, costing a lot of people a lot of money. And again, this is a major factor of safety. And that has been a major inspiration for CPSC's new battery disposal campaign. We have been working with schools on the preschool to elementary level, drafting a Common Core aligned curriculum that can really bring the message of safe battery disposal into the home. This curriculum includes coloring books, crossword puzzles, as well as battery disposal boxes, like the one seen at the bottom of the presentation, for the schools to offer that service to parents. And the hope of this project is that the kids will take what they have learned home, educate their parents on the proper ways to dispose of batteries. And from this, we've already received a lot of positive feedback from school staff, parents, and they're really happy their kids are receiving this sort of education. And I, for one, am very excited to see where CPSC takes this project in the coming years. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Joanne.
Thank you, thank you. So CFE, which is our favorite organization we collaborate with. I mean, we're not supposed to pick favorites, but we might. So it's the California Foundation on the Environment and Economy. They've been around for decades, and we've been partnering and been on their board for the last 5, going on 6 years. And this organization is really focused on educating legislators through like educational tours, so you can see EPR in action or whatever topic they're working on. So over the last 6 years, we've really convinced this organization to add a track for solid waste and recycling or material recovery. And ultimately, this last trip, so we sponsor the trip every year. We take different locations around North America to really focus on who's really exemplifying EPR or recycling specifically, who would benefit from policy change. In past years, we've gone to Canada, we've gone to Maine, we've done Vancouver and the West Coast, Oregon, Washington. We were really excited this year. We went to Colorado and New Mexico. And we had, I don't remember the final number, but about 11 to 15 legislators. We have other NGOs and organizations who also co-sponsor the trip. And on this trip, we were able to see some amazing things. Some of my favorite things from the trip was we saw a clothing repair facility that does waterless cleaning and is one of the top processors for some of the major brands repair programs. So North Face, Arc'teryx, some of those types of brands use this facility. It's called Tersis, and they have on-site. It was really big. It was like clothing getting organized, repaired, and then or getting washed. We saw a really big nexus between outerwear and protective clothing. So that facility also manages the repair and cleaning of firefighter suits and other medical and police protective gear. That was my favorite location, but we went to several others. The other one is in New Mexico on one of the pueblos, really seeing how it was a community-based program to get HHW collection up and running. So happy to expand more on if you want to look at our website. If you want to get more involved in our trip next year, we are looking to go to Vancouver, Washington, Oregon again, because it's been a few years and quite a few changes. So thanks again, and really looking forward to sharing more information on our CFE interactions. Next slide.
Okay, here we go. So each year at the CRA conference, CPSC hosts our Arrow Awards. And our awards focus on organizations with innovative approaches to product stewardship and tackling difficult products in our waste stream. So first up is Plastic Beach, who is the winner of the 2024 Green Arrow Award for System and Design Innovations. Plastic Beach is tackling plastic wrap, which is a uniquely difficult product. It often causes technical difficulties for a lot of MRFs, and Plastic Beach's innovative approach keeps plastic wrap out of the waste stream and gives the product a new life. Next up, we had Homeboy Threads, who is the recipient of our Bow and Arrow Award for coalition building and creative partnerships. So Joanne and our team have worked with Homeboy on multiple textile projects, and we recently submitted an EPA grant with them and our partners at LA Sanitation. Homeboy has really incredible trauma certified training, which allows them to uniquely serve their community, and we are really proud to collaborate with them on multiple products. Next, we have One Earth Recycling, who was the winner of the Infinity Award for Service and Take Back programs. And this award is given to an organization for providing an outstanding take back program to provide additional convenience and serve their community. One Earth Recycling accomplishes this with their recycling kiosks, which provide opportunities for aluminum, plastic, glass, metals, and electronics, which are all designed with consumer ease in mind, and they are completely off-grid operations, and they allow community members an opportunity to get paid for the materials that they bring in. Changing slides. For our 2024 Golden Arrow Award, we're really thrilled to give this award to One Plastic Life. This award is given for overall excellence in product stewardship. One Plastic Life exemplifies all of the characteristics of our awards, and we are incredibly inspired by the work that they do. They provide positive economic incentives for local unsheltered communities to collect, wash, and shred recycling plastic to create new products. And additionally, they worked with CPSC through our ZIF funds to pilot an educational program teaching middle schoolers in the Los Angeles Unified School District on how to identify and properly recycle plastics in their own cafeteria, with the hope to expand this program district-wide. Each year, we award one individual as the Associate of the Year, and this year, our associate is Caitlin Haberlin, who is on this call. Caitlin works with the County of Santa Barbara. We got to work alongside Caitlin to host a textile recycling workshop in Santa Barbara this past year. And Caitlin's dedication not only to this project, but her dedication and passion for educating and nurturing new opportunities in her community, as well as her commitment to extended producer responsibility, is really incredible. And we are so glad to work alongside her in our associate meetings and our projects in Santa Barbara. Finally, CPSC wants to recognize Green Waste as our 2024 sponsor of the year. Green Waste provides waste management to a large portion of Northern California, and they're really a leader in carpet recycling. They're committed to thoughtful waste collection and are always seeking new opportunities to provide more innovative resources to support their community. Green Waste partnered with CPSC this past year to perform a textile audit and a sorting pilot, and we are really grateful to work alongside them. Finally, here are some pictures from our Air Awards ceremony. Wes Nelson is on our board and received the Green Waste Award on behalf of the Green Waste community. He was clearly the star of the show. We had a fantastic time, and we look forward to next year's celebration as well. And we hope to see you all there. Passing this next slide.
Okay, the board retreat and legislative reception. Earlier this year, each year really, in this particular year, it was in May, the CPSC board held their annual board retreat. The annual board retreats, like they do in many organizations, they really serve as a great opportunity for the board to discuss strategy, current and upcoming legislative solutions, and recognize that year's greatest partners. So this year, again in May, we included a legislative reception for our legislative partners, where we got to spend quite a bit of time with a number of legislators and their staff and really thank them for their support of our work at the Capitol. Events like these are really great opportunities for us to build and even expand our relationships with a lot of elected officials. and their staff, of course, many of whom we've hosted on our annual CP trip. Last but not least, the board retreats. They really provide board members with the opportunity to more or less check the pulse of the organization, consider updates to the organizational vision and mission. Ryan mentioned that earlier in this presentation, and really consider changes to our organizational strategy. We didn't see any radical changes being made this year, just some regular updates and some cleanup. And you can now see our newly updated vision and mission on our website. And we can include that in our chat here. Take a look on the right. Next slide, please.
So 2025 will be a new legislative session. California has 2-year sessions. So at the end of the 2 years, any bills that didn't move or pass just automatically die. And we have a completely new slate starting, technically started last week. Bills have already been introduced for the 2025-26 session, but we really will see a lot more of the bills start to come in through introduction once the legislators come back from recess in January. So CPSC uses this time in between the legislative sessions to really develop our priorities, our campaigns, and how we're going to really have the most effective impact through the legislation and regulations that are going to take place next year. So many of you know we sponsored AB 2 and 1238, which with Assemblymember Ward, which were bills on solar panel recycling that were kind of a variation of EPR and some alternative management standards. But ultimately, those bills died and we parked them knowing that SB 707 was going to set a new precedent and a new model. So we're really excited to really keep solar panels as our top priority for next legislative session. And we plan on reintroducing a completely new bill. So using 707 as the model, which emphasizes reuse, repair, and responsible end markets, we hope to have a bill number for you with Assemblymember Ward in the next few weeks. Next few months, ultimately, let's just say the deadline to introduce bills is the 3rd week of January. So by then we'll really know what the number is and if we have any co-authors for the next session. We're going to be introducing a co-sponsored bill on banning single-use vaping devices. What it means when you co-sponsor a bill is multiple organizations agree to share the education, share the advocacy, especially when you know it's going to be a heavy lift. So we're getting the band back together, the battery trio, Rethink Waste, CPSC, and Californians Against Waste. And we've added a whole new partner this year for this particular bill. So it's going to be 4 co-sponsors, and that's going to be PIRG, the Public Interest Group. So the 4 of us are going to take on single-use vaping devices. And again, those are the vaping devices where the battery does not come apart from the vaping juice or liquid. Because they're unable to detach, they become really problematic in the waste stream. And there's some regulatory updates that we want to make there. So our bill will just be banning single-use devices, but there's going to be a package of multiple vaping bills that will be introduced next year. So looking at an HHW EPR bill that will have vaping devices included, and also another vaping bill that really focuses on the school districts and how they're expected to safely manage vaping devices that are confiscated. So with multiple vaping kind of packages, we really hope to disrupt the tobacco and cannabis industries that are profiting off of a product that are posing really big dangers in the waste industry. And then lastly, at the request of the author, we're really going to step up and try to fix carpet, hopefully for the last time. There was a carpet bill last year, and there were a few things that didn't make it across the finish line, specifically looking at adding resilient flooring and additional products to the program so that we can update the regulations and move on to having a more effective program. Just so as a reminder, California is the only state with a carpet program. We've had it for over a decade with multiple updates. I mean, we can only do so much, but at this point, we're really calling out for other states. We need other states to introduce carpet bills. simultaneously as we do hopefully the last cleanup for the program, because it's a really recyclable product. People don't always realize, even though our feet are touching it, it's actually considered a clean stream because it doesn't commingle with some of the other products that render it, contaminated. So obviously our campaigns are going to continue. We have our Refuel Your Fun campaign, our textile campaign, and our marine flare campaigns. And these are top priorities because we know there's going to be bills and regulations on these particular product types. So you'll see a lot of education, social media, newsletters. So we just encourage you to share the message, share it widely, share it with your network. And as we go into the next slide, we're really going to look at all of our campaigns and how we can, next slide, share the word. So ultimately follow us on social media, get on our listserv so you can forward out our newsletters and emails, and look at how we ultimately need the data to support legislation. So you might see some survey requests, you might see us asking questions or for pictures. If you see a marine flare come across your HHW, send a picture of it. If you get calls about safe medicine disposal, send them to our website, which has lots of information, because ultimately these campaigns exist and will continue to exist simultaneous to the legislation. As Nate mentioned, we're years into the med disposal program, and we're still finding communities that don't have safe disposal bins. So for those on the call who represent jurisdictions, or if you're watching the webinar, please check out our websites, check out our social media. All the information you need is there. So with our final few minutes, we're going to open it up. We are a fun group, so we'll take any questions you want to throw at us. We do want to say, for another successful year, a big thank you to our executive director, Doug. He is our leader with the smile, our wonderful monarch in the sky. We had a really fun holiday party last week. And as you can see, Ryan and his really serious textile waste audit. But ultimately, our jobs exist through our networks and through our funders and sponsors. So a big thank you for everyone who joined us today and continue to join us during the year on all of our activities. I'm going to turn it over, and if anyone has questions, it's a small enough group. We can definitely unmute, unmic, and we'll take any questions, anything you have for us.
I did want to mention really quick for the folks that joined right at 10, Doug wasn't able to join us today because he was called to jury duty late last week. So it was a little bit of an unanticipated twist. So we just wanted to share that information with you. Thanks.
And for the sake of the webinar on the recording on YouTube, we're not going to hang out for too long in the silence. But we're going to end the recording. And ultimately, if you have questions, you can come find us. Go to the last slide, because ultimately how you find us is, you know how to find us because you're here. You can email us. You can find us on LinkedIn and social media. You can attend our meetings, our webinars. We like to be as accessible as possible. So we really appreciate each and every one of you who've showed up and made our year as wonderful as possible. And we look forward to continuing our work together. And with that, let's take off Mike's CPSC team and